Welcome to the Top Corner Podcast. Another day, another dollar.
And another podcast.
Yeah. Yep, today is 6:23. If you know, you know. If you leave,
the day, what day it is?
6:23.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. Unless you live with a different calendar. And trust me, there's a lot of different calendars.
Although it is technically tomorrow in Japan already. So
they're like on the 24th, I guess.
They're never on the same page, really.
Yeah. But do they follow the same calendar? This calendar?
They follow the same calendar, but their time zones keep them kind of away from everybody else.
I think China follows a different kind of calendar.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
That's why the New Year is weird. But anyways, you know, it is what it is, and you know what we're here to do. Let's start with some round of applause. And guess what? We are awesome today.
Wow, there you go. Really making use of the soundboard.
Oh yeah. Well, Ibrahim Konate. I don't know if they spell it well. They said Ibrahima. I don't think that's how you spell it.
Ibrahima Konate? I believe it is.
It's Ibrahima?
I believe so.
Dang. Hey, that's kind of crazy. It's usually Ibrahim. The end throws me off. Konate has rejected a Liverpool renewal contract, which is very, very interesting. What do you think about it? It's kind of out of the blue, just like that, just rejecting a contract. I feel like he has something in mind, or someone has poached him already.
I think, and I think that it lends a little bit more to the truth that Liverpool are searching for Mark Gahey.
Yeah,
they're really trying to lock that down. And you know, even though Konate starts over Joe Gomez any day of the week, Jarrell Kwanzaa has already signed away somewhere else. You know, you would be part of a 3-man rotation with Mark Gahey and Virgil van Dijk. Not bad, I think. And I mean, even as a 3-man back, you're guaranteed playtime. Like in the Premier League, in the Champions League, in domestic cups. You know, you're coming on as a sub more often than not most games, I think. Yeah. So I understand wanting to be one of the top 2 in selection, but when you're part of a squad that's as well run and as well managed as Liverpool, they're not a sprawling, massive squad. Like, everybody gets a good amount of playing time. You know, you have your starting 11, but everybody outside of that still does get some good minutes. So, you know, unless you want to bitch a lot like Harvey Elliott, I don't really see a reason to have that big of an issue with it. But, you know, weren't Real Madrid interested as well? I had heard that they were knocking for Konate as well. Yeah. It was an early conversation, and, you know, there are offers for him. There would be. So, you know, and he's already won the Premier League with them. He was not part of their Champions League winning side. Yeah. That was Joel Matip. But, you know, so he still has some things that he could achieve at Liverpool. Yes. But, you know, if you want to be one of the starting 2, I get it. But I would stick around, I think.
So, but that is double dipping in a sense. That's playing with fire. What I mean by that is, if Liverpool sign Gahey and Konate doesn't move anywhere, that's gonna be crazy for him, because his playing time will significantly reduce. And pulling a move like that to a team, or the team you're currently playing for, and you never move, they looked at it as you are not loyal, so they're gonna mess with you big time, like they did my guy Osimhen. They're gonna mess with you big time.
It's like once you kind of approach the possibility of moving on, you kind of have to follow through with it. There is no, you know, well, I'm unhappy, and now here I am again. It's like, you know, your playing time will significantly decrease. But like I said, I mean, Mark Gahey and Virgil van Dijk are not going to get every minute of every game either, and I would make the most of that rotation. That's just me, because I do think that Mark Gahey and Konate are on similar levels of capability. So
I think the only thing I feel with Gahey is the fitness issues.
Yeah.
But yes, exactly.
And that's even more reason I think that, you know, I don't think that Konate should be running for the hills just yet. If he is, it's because he wants to be, like I said, you know, a starter, getting every minute of every game, which I understand that, but it's also,
he wants what you call the mullah. More mullah,
I guess.
More going. What if he goes in Spanish in Spain and starts speaking Spanish? That's when we were all agree this guy was.
Well, it's just like
he pulled a Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah, and I mean, there aren't that many clubs out there that could give him the crazy pay. I mean, like Real Madrid, sure,
PSG.
But like PSG, sure, and he's French, but
And he already speaks French.
And Marquinhos is on his way out, even
Yep.
though it's not for lack of quality. It's just, I mean,
Age, man.
age and subsequently fitness.
Yeah.
But I think, like, let's say he signed for PSG right now. He's not starting over Pacho and Marquinhos as a combo, so he's still in that third man rotation. So I don't know.
It depends how his contract is set up. If he signs for PSG now, I see him being the main man just because Marquinhos will be pushing out a little bit, so he'll just stay around. So
He'd be one of those where, like, as long as he's fit, Marquinhos would start.
Without it,
without it, yeah. I think you owe it to those kinds of guys, like Van Dijk. In 3 years, when Van Dijk is still starting somewhere, because he will be starting somewhere, he's not going to be one of the guys that transfers to the bench later in his years. It is one of those, you know, if you're healthy, kind of like Pepe at the highest level. It's like, if you're fit, dude, we're going to start you. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you're not coming off the bench, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It makes sense. But Gehi for Liverpool, I feel like if Konate stays, he's gonna be the main guy because I don't think Gehi has the potential to get that position fixed. I think he's gonna be the rotation guy. Fitness
I agree.
issues. He's not as good as Konate. Let's not lie to ourselves. He has the potential, yes, but not Konate level. Konate is pure.
And he just doesn't know the system. They are a club that's run by a system 100%.
Yeah. So if I'm Konate, I'm staying there because 1 or 2 years, you know, in seniority, and I'm still young, and Liverpool shows signs of trying to compete at the highest level. So you will still get your minute, you get the legacy, you have the opportunity to get the trophy. So I don't see why you're running around. But hey,
Konate, quit being a bitch.
If it's money,
you said that earlier. I remember you texted me that, and I was like, wow, that's kind of harsh that you said that, but I agree with you, I think.
What the hell, Konate? Oh, my boy Pogba, I didn't put it yet, but my boy Pogba just had his contract. I think he signed with Monaco.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how, I think it's a 1 year or 2 year deal, but yeah, I was happy for him.
Because the city itself, like, they have good money.
Yeah.
Like, they actually are kind of we don't talk about how much money.
But they don't spend. They're more like,
I agree.
I think they have a good youth academy.
They have a good youth academy, but like that's also one of those clubs that, like, if they really wanted to have 1 or 2 superstars around, they could afford to keep him. So, like, if that's what they want to do, because I feel like he could still play well at that level, at like an upper mid table French side for sure.
You know what I think? I think if he plays the next year and he kind of gets back the mojo, I think the World Cup for France will be really tough because he will be definitely playing that French team.
You think so?
Yes, and I think it's the same thing as the Chelsea guy, the low guy. What's his name? I keep forgetting his name. Kante. You know, he didn't play in Europe. The year they bought him back because they know what he can bring, and
he was still working in the Saudi league, though. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that, but like if you watch 2018 World Cup, is the combination of both. Yeah, because Pogba could do what Kante can do, and Kante will do what Pogba will do, the dirty work. Now, on those long splitting passes that Pogba was sending to Mbappe, he will bring that back. And I feel like, I
just feel like his fitness is kind of gone.
That's why I say if he plays this year and he kind of get it back to, because playing for France, you really the position where he play, you really don't need fitness. You need more of finesse.
I guess,
and it's more like a Xabi Alonso kind of deal or Toni Kroos, where if you can, this position I call architect.
If you can walk, Pirlo. You can do it.
It's like Pirlo. It's like Pirlo at the end of his years. He wasn't on the bench, but he could see the whole stadium.
He was standing in one spot the entire match. He was threading passes like a motherfucker.
That's it.
Yeah,
so
I get that.
That's what I'm saying. But,
I get it. I get it.
I don't know.
I do think that the years of inactivity and the years before that of not taking training seriously, I do think that it stacks up on him. Yeah. And I think that
definitely will play.
Conte is just more of a dedicated player, and that's what allowed him to maintain his quality when not playing in the top leagues. But we'll see. We'll see.
That is true. Let's go to a World Cup clause that is currently taking place.
Yeah.
See? There's a lot of, I don't know, man. People are saying weird things about it. And I see why we can justify it and also not. As for me, I'm more of a 50-50 kind of guy or 60-40. But let's first talk about attendance. So you saw Al Ahly Inter Miami was 94% attendance, but a lot of people are complaining that these games are not pulling a lot of the crowd in the stadium.
Yeah.
But I think that the emphasis of saying that, I think a lot of people saying that, also a lot of people that hate the World Cup clubs in a
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
Not to say that there's not an attendance issue, but they make it seem that it's a real big problem. Because what I would say, if you see that link, there's a picture on that was posted on Reddit and vetted because I saw it on other sites. So, but the games that were not attended fully are the games that are, first of all, 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Which in the US, that's
It's midday.
midday. It's
Smack in the middle of work.
difficult.
Yeah.
Then you got games in New York at that time. Like, no one is gonna be going to New York 3 p.m. It's gonna be difficult.
Yeah.
Traffic
And then it's all and then it's also who's playing.
Then that's another thing.
And that's every league.
That's what
not
some
just summer
people are
tournaments. It's
saying.
like, I mean, Brentford and Sunderland is always going to be less than the Manchester Derby.
That's
it's just
true.
like, it's just the
So-
way that it is. It's club popularity, it's size of stadium, it's time of day, it's all those things put together for
put
sure.
together. And you think about you playing the US, where this is not saying that it has an issue, but there's a little bit of that where this is not the main sport. Although
It's
I
nowhere
would-
near the main sport.
Yeah, although I will argue that the US crowd in the Assam, like the general consensus, have recently been more interested in football. But you have to also understand, you got to put it in certain hours of the day and certain places. Because if you take Real Madrid Al Ahly or Al Hilal,
Yeah.
Al Ahly is the main. They were playing in Miami, and 96% of the stadium was full.
Yeah.
Right. You take the same thing, Al Ahly Inter Miami in Miami. 94% of the
Oh,
stadium
sure.
was
Of
full.
course. Yeah.
So we can say, well, the teams. Well, look at Boca Junior Benfica. 86% in Miami. So I think also this is a thing. This is also a how would I call it? I think this is an opportunity for FIFA to look at what although the World Cup will be different because some people this year's they take off 2 weeks, 1 month because they come for the sport itself.
Yeah.
But it's also an opportunity to see what they are doing a little bit wrong and adjust it for the World Cup.
Yeah, because even like let's say that it was like River Plate and Boca Junior. Okay,
Yeah.
let's just say that. Of course, the numbers are going to do better in Miami than they would in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
That's another thing.
Because it's a larger Hispanic
Yes,
crowd.
yes.
So you might have to just by default, even though you would pull for the World Cup, not the Club World Cup,
Yeah,
the World Cup.
World Cup.
You'll pull good numbers in Seattle, in
You
Chicago,
will.
but you're going to pull better numbers in LA, in Miami,
Yeah.
in Houston. Like these are just things that are going to happen. So you might want to start looking at prioritizing
Yeah.
the southern and west coast areas
Yes, yeah.
because of the Hispanic population. You're just going to have to do that because they're going to travel regardless. But you know what? Our fans that show up to these stadiums, they are lesser in number than in Europe and South America.
Yeah.
But they are hardcore fans. So you're still getting, if you shoot it right, if you plot out where the stadium where they're going to sit just right, it can be a very, very hot crowd because those guys are super fans and they're there to get down. But as soon as you start dispersing them over big stadiums, the atmosphere sort of dies off. So it's all about kind of, I think the Geodis, the Nashville Stadium, is a good size for these kinds of tournaments. I don't think Mercedes-Benz Stadium it's too big.
Unless you put in hot guy like hot big
Yes.
teams like
Yes.
Madrid.
Well, and
Barcelona,
everybody's
or
complaining
something.
about the attendance in the group stage, but once it gets to the knockout stage, they're going to be big
gonna be
matchups,
there.
man. Like, there's no way that you can't.
and I think also
But also that's really fast.
Go ahead.
That's every group stage based tournament ever as well.
Yeah.
The knockout rounds are always hotter in terms of what's at stake, but also the attendance and the hotness of the crowd. So, these numbers are not great for the group stage, but like you said, certain ones are hotter than others. But once it gets down to the elimination phases, they're going to be bigger crowd. People are going to start traveling more, and it will happen. And you'll find more people calling out from work from 3 p.m. on a Thursday to be there. It's like that's going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
we just make it seem like it's a big problem in a sense. Just I think that's why I think people that make it seem like that is also because they hate the notion of that competition in a sense. So that's what they focus on. But it also shows us that the it's a problem with selection of venues. It also shows us the time period. But also we have to put in mind this is the first time of that tournament. And a lot of Europeans didn't really travel to come and watch the teams. This is mostly and this is why we have to actually give a lot of credit to the American fan base.
Yeah.
Because especially at this time when Europe, there's still a lot of things, school and all these things going on. Most of them haven't traveled to come watch their teams.
Yeah.
And some people are trying to compare this to the World Cup. No, because the World Cup is more of a celebration.
Yeah.
People travel to come think. You will always feel distance. Germany is playing against Spain or even against whatever country.
Spain and Portugal or something like that.
They will fill the stadium. It don't matter what time because the fans are already traveled. It's a celebration. People have taken off this time. People are waiting 4 years for this. This is just
you
totally
put this
different.
in an off season, what we expect to be off season.
Yeah,
and you can sit there and say the prize money is substantial because the prize money is 125 million.
Yeah,
that's massive. That's Florian Wirtz. That's Declan Rice. That's Kylian Mbappe. Like that's like you can get that kind of extra cash just by winning this tournament. But the thing is, the fans and especially the broadcasters and the pundits, and I'm not even saying it's a bad thing because the history is not there.
That's true.
It's in the off season. But they're treating it like preseason.
Yeah.
If you look at like what's going on, especially with Real Madrid. We're not talking about how well the team is performing. We're talking about what Xabi Alonso's plans look like.
Yes.
And that's what we do in friendlies.
Yes.
Oh, the squad's shaping up. Like, how's this going to work? It's not so much are they going to win the tournament? Are they good enough to win? Like, when we're talking about these sides, we're not really talking about who's going to advance farthest. We're saying, oh, well, they're shaping up nicely for the real season. That's kind of what it feels like. And as long as the tournament feels that way, it's going to be that way.
That way, yeah. Definitely. I do agree with that. And that's why I said there's just so much emphasis on those things that I don't see it being a real big issue.
Yeah.
Although everybody say, oh, it means this is the failure or it's a fiasco. No.
We said this last week as well. I just think that the tournament's a little too big.
Yeah.
For what they're trying to do. The older ones where it was basically, your CONCACAF winner, your UEFA, your CONMEBOL, your AFCON, your Oceania. Like once those, it was like a draw of like 8 clubs into this thing. If you had expanded it a tiny bit, I understand. But now you have clubs that don't really deserve to be there. They didn't place highly last year in their respective conferences. So like that's just more games. It's more money. That's more cash. And we do see that. I don't think that it's that we hate the idea of the tournament. We hate the presentation because we understand that a lot of these clubs don't need to be there.
Yep.
And they won't really be there by the time the knockout round comes about. But they took some of those clubs will take spots from clubs that earned a place.
That's true.
Just because they're a better squad. Like a Chelsea. If Chelsea getting past Auckland City, they don't play in the same group. But what I mean to say is, if you won the Oceanic Conference, you deserve to be there.
Yeah.
If you won the Champions League 4 years ago,
you deserve to be there.
No, if you didn't win if you won the Champions League 4 years ago, you don't deserve to be there.
That's true.
But if they met in knockout tournament, they beat Auckland City. The rightful person, Auckland City, leaves early. Despite winning, so what if the Oceanic Division Conference is much less in quality than UEFA? They still need to play each other.
That's true.
So getting knocked out prematurely because of other clubs that have just kind of been grandfathered in, that's not nice. And I think that we understand that, and that's what sort of, if you're going to take down the prestige of a tournament, that's one way to do it. Because the 125 million, that should make any fan that their club is in there, you should want to win that.
That's true.
That money is major. Every club, and a lot of these guys are playing hard. They don't a lot of it doesn't feel like friendly.
Yeah.
They're still working out things because at the end of the day, it is fucking preseason, because new guys are coming in and they're trying to figure out what the new tactic is going to be. But, it's the setup of the tournament that's the issue, not the tournament itself, I think.
Yeah.
And the prize money. That prize money is legit. It is. I mean, you can't not take that seriously once you're in it.
Yeah.
I think everybody makes fun of it until their club's in it. And like 125 million. Holy shit! Let's do this thing.
But so you think about exposure, right? You think about exposure. You think about what it brings. It brings more fans to the sport itself because this is this will be the first time people discovering the sport in this capacity, and people even going to watch some of this European side or South American side and stuff like that. So there's a lot at play here in a sense. But when you look at a tournament though, and this is another this is where you understand the American nice kind of way of doing things. A lot of European are pissed off at the ads. You watch
and I hate ads too, man. I mean, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. So, I'm with you on that.
So, but this has been my saying. The day the US discover how to incorporate ads fully with the capacity to still draw the crowd, the football crowd itself, is the day football will really be massive in the US. Because the thing that's holding it back, in my opinion, although the way they play it in the MLS will be confusing, because I think restructuring it will be good for them.
Yeah.
The argument is that if Texas you have to play someone in New York, there's too much of travel. It don't matter. We have planes nowadays. It's not like you driving a bus here. But I think that will also help. The reason why I say that, when you look all the American sport, there's so much of a break where they can fill that extra time. And so what
they've been doing is called picture in picture, where here's the game goes in the bottom corner, and then the ad comes up. They do that for a lot of they did that a lot with like wrestling in the past and current. The issue with that is that you're prioritizing the ad over the game, and unlike the NFL, unlike basketball, unlike Major League Baseball, this is not a stop and start sport. And what's going to end up happening? So, because like all the advertisers and all the business guys are like, this is great. We can keep the game going on, and the ad comes up. It's like, you know what's going to happen? You're going to have everybody loving you until in the 45th minute. In picture in picture, when the game is this small in the bottom corner, and you get that Declan Rice Real Madrid free kick, and we fucking miss it on the big screen, we're coming for your head.
That's true.
It's like it's all fun and games until a major moment happens during one of the ads.
Especially those key moments where the crowd lives for this.
A big messy a big messy chip over the top. It's like
how did we miss that?
Let that happen. I guarantee. I want it to happen.
Oh dang, that will be the end.
Maybe the last time they do it.
Europe will go crazy. But when you look at the tournament, though, does that, at least, do we see that, because all the Brazilian sides have top tier individual group, does that also show how different in competition all the sides that we might be minimizing because of lack? Because for me, I actually never minimize South America. It's just that they are not in the public eye like that. But if you know anything about soccer, football, whatever, the 70s, 80s, 90s, this was your era. Europe couldn't see your backside. You had
South Americans staying in the South American leagues to continue playing and playing well
Maradona,
at a high level.
Maradona did a long time before getting out. They think about Pele didn't even. I think he went out at probably the end of his career, and it wasn't even in Europe. So you think a lot of big guys that you know about in South America, most of them stayed there until they were really matured, or they were offered more money. So, and they always have talents, and you can look at Europe, how many guys they produce, but it also shows you how quick and fast. And me looking at it, every time Cameroon had to play someone like Chile, I knew it was going to be a problem, not on the physical aspect, because I know physical aspect would dominate them.
Technical.
But I think technical and the how do you call it? The fitness was going to be an issue, because when you look at South America, it's like they never stop. And it's crazy because Hurricane spoke. That was his thing. He said, it's like they just keep playing. No stomach.
You can be big, you can be fit, you can be strong, you can be fast, but like they're going to be able to keep it up longer than you.
Does that also show the different attribute of their own league as different as in Europe? Because the only person that kind of do that thing, that way of playing, would be in the Premier League. Where it never really stops. In Spain, it's more about
the fitness, the energy is high in the Premier League, and then it's more tactical in La Liga, and it can slow down a little bit more, and they appreciate that style.
So I think some teams thought it was going to be easy. It's not that easy. Botafogo beat Paris, and they're going to be like, yes, it's a preseason, but Paris had all their guys in.
And even though Atletico Madrid beat Botafogo today, that goal difference in that 4-0 smashing of PSG is what's keeping Atletico Madrid out. They're gone. So even though they won today, if they had lost 2-0 to PSG, they'd move on today, but they didn't do that.
Dang. You see the difference. I watched Bayern Boca Junior. That game was amazing. The only thing Boca Junior didn't get, although Bayern dominated the game, they couldn't just score. But Boca Junior also played so well, and man, that goal that Boca Junior scored was amazing. And I think I also watched Dortmund Mamelodi Sundowns. So I was kind of happy, because sometimes people take African teams for granted, but they have a Brazilian striker. Dude, it was like the first goal was like FIFA. He ran all over the stadium. No one, like tackling was a problem. They tackled, he just kind of hopped, and I was like, that looks like you play FIFA on beginner friendly mode.
Yeah.
But so far, as for me, I'm enjoying some games. Some games that you could tell, like if it's like Pachuca or whatever.
Pachuca, yeah. And Real Madrid. I did watch that one yesterday.
How did it
Yeah, dude, like so up until that red card, Pachuca was there. They had opportunities,
That's what
and
I
was
reading online.
Yeah, and it's funny, once Asensio was sent off for the red card, I think it was in like the 8th or 9th minute,
Yeah.
and they were down to 10 men, they became more organized.
That's
Because
what I read.
they knew that they had to. So it's
Yeah.
like there was no more, we can't mess about, we can't turn the ball over. Like we don't need to necessarily be holding on to it
Yeah.
and fearing for them to gain possession. But it did take a bit more. There was more deliberate movements within. And I mean the 3-1 at the end of the day, that represents the quality between the two, the separation, but. At the end of the day, like that's what it looks like when a top European side doesn't play well.
Yeah,
they're still likely going to get the better end of it. But to me, the 3-1, which that one was scored late after the squad starts to sort of taper off a little bit, it was not impressive from Real Madrid at all.
Yeah.
They can't play that way against even domestic Spanish clubs, but I think Pachuca played very well. And I think that is representative of the sides, man. Just a little bit of lack of finishing from the South American side, the Mexican side rather. And but yeah, I mean, you expect Real Madrid to go through regardless of playing flawlessly or even lacklusterly.
Yeah,
you expect them to still go through, so they did. But yeah, no one's. And Mbappe was out; he was sick.
Oh. When you watch that game, I think it was Trent Alexander-Arnold's first game. Was it?
That was his second game.
Well, I didn't watch the first game, but when you watch that game, did you feel like what he will be bringing to the team as far as how he plays and the style of playing they want him to play or expect him to play? There's a lot that we might be seeing from Madrid coming from him this season. Yeah,
I think that first goal was exactly representational of what he does. Did you see the highlights at all?
I saw it.
He took because he's on the right wing-ish, but he's still mostly midfield. And he takes the ball and he cuts in through the middle and he just rips one halfway across it horizontally, and it's picked up by someone in the midfield, I think. He dinks it over the top for Valverde to get a little toe poke on it. But it's like that pass, that march up through the midfield into the attacking zone to then just rake the ball across. It's like that's what Alexander-Arnold is supposed to be doing. That's what he did with Liverpool. It wasn't necessarily the massive free kick shot from downtown, although he does have that in his locker. But yeah, it was like that pass across was excellent. And of course, everybody else building up to the finish were perfect in their task as well. But he had the most work that needed to be done, and he did it.
That's the summary in a sense, in a nutshell. I think there's a lot good that we see from it, and it's the first time. And Enzo Maresca was talking about lack of the fans at the Club World Cup,
like lack of energy.
Lack of fans,
just lack of people. Okay.
Yeah, because it's new. I think you have to also build a fan club for it. You can't just
because the fans that are there are hot. Like that's the whole point. It's just like there aren't as many of them as they're used to.
Yeah,
they're used to selling out Stamford. Well, mostly selling out Stamford Bridge every week. So.
As it stands for now, 32 matches have been played. 35,995 per match in total on average.
Okay.
It's not bad.
No.
In America, it's not bad for me.
Midweek, all the stuff. Yeah, man. I mean, it's not.
I think the other thing that we was probably expecting was more of the stars to play. But some of them played. I reckon when you look at Bayern is playing all their team. They're just rotating, but they're playing all the team. I guess some of them are also using this to gauge how well the team will be in terms of chemistry, cohesion for the season, like you said. So
Kane's out there, Musiala's out there, Olise's out there. So I mean, like the big guys are going. So and Madrid's the same way as well. Mbappe was sick. You couldn't help that.
Yeah.
But Vinny was out there, Valverde was out there, Arnold was out there. So like everybody that's fit has played within this tournament. So
Dang.
Nico Jackson, he's been out there.
Chelsea said they're not gonna sell him. They have plans for him. I thought
they have plans in the basement. They're gonna take him down to the basement.
So that was very interesting to me that they didn't have any.
They're gonna sacrifice him to the football gods. If you find Nico Jackson nailed to a tree, you'll know why. We got to win these games.
Man, they need someone else. Do you want to? And this might be general if you want to talk about it. So far, our best CB, or we can just talk about for the Premier League, and next time we talk about for the all time.
Oh, we were gonna do that during the break.
Oh, we're going
between World Cup and the start of the Premier League.
Okay, well, that's a little recap of the FIFA World Cup. If you want to go watch it. If you don't want, for the sake of the sport, if you're a sports fan, you would want to watch it.
You should at least be watching some. You should at least be watching some highlights. Want to watch.
If it gets to the what you call it, the semifinal.
Yeah. You're gonna start watching.
Yeah.
I'll be traveling during some of the early knockout stuff, which is a bummer because that's stuff that I actually want to see. If you were a real fan, you should at least be checking out some highlights for some key games, and I don't see a reason to not be watching once you get down to the quarterfinals and beyond.
Yeah.
Because again, that prize money is real. Whether or not you think this tournament is real, I'll tell you what, everybody will be playing. Whoever's in the final, I'm counting it now. They're going to have as much energy as they do in their regular domestic cup, in their regular domestic league, because that tournament, that trophy, that cup itself might be worthless. That prize money is not worthless.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot of money, man.
Every single club in the world could use 125 million. Every single one of them.
Another thing that since we probably get 5 minutes discuss a little bit. Do you also think that this Club World Cup has kind of exposed the myth of European club being superior to every other club in a sense? Because you would think that if they play in any club that is not in Europe, they're trashing them enormous amount. And when you look at the Brazilian side playing these guys, they can't do that. Although we know probably they're not going 100%, but the percentage at which they're going, everybody were expecting them to at least be beating these guys.
I don't think that it's necessarily showing that the European clubs aren't superior.
Yeah.
I think that everybody, because we've had this conversation on the podcast as well, that the separation of quality at a certain point becomes razor thin. Everybody wants to sit there and say that the French league is a farmers league, when realistically it's the 5th best league in the world.
Yeah.
The actual separation of quality between them and the average Premier League player is not that crazy. It's just once you get to the very tip top, the quarterfinalists of the Champions League, the clubs that frequent that space, that's where the quality becomes much higher. But everybody else, they're around that same size. So a Bayern Munich that's playing a bit more for rotation. They're not playing their B squad, but not all their A squad guys are in at the exact same time.
Yeah.
They are still tired. Whether or not you want to use that as an excuse, it shouldn't be an excuse for why you lose, but it is a factor, not an excuse. It's a factor. The heat that the South American sides would be more used to.
Yeah.
All those things level the playing field quite a bit, but also I think that do they think that these South American and these Brazilian and Argentinian clubs are awful?
Yeah.
They're not awful.
Yeah.
You because you only watch Europe, you think that they're miles and miles and miles better. And it's a lot of this stuff just comes down to opportunity.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes down to just the top squads already have enough people. And so a lot of these guys are good enough to play somewhere in Europe. They chose to stay there.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a local guy that gets, respect from the club and they're fine with where they are. But the quality separation is not as massive as I think that the average person really thinks that it is.
My argument to this would be in the line of what you said. I think the separation is not as big as we think it is, or the gap. There's also another thing we have to. The reason why we say this at the creme de la creme, these big teams, we also have to take into account the money they can spend, which also account for the disparity between A and B, right? A top class actor will not get the same. A class A actor will get more money than a class B.
Yeah.
In many respects, they can probably have the same way of acting, but you can kind of see where the separation start getting, where it's the same thing as this. And also we have to think about it as football in a sense. You don't have the monopoly to be the superior teams. You are just as superior as, because the league has more money, the way you guys play, the people and the club and the effectiveness, the efficiency and the caliber of players you get. But on a competition level too, like Mike Tyson said, you can take a hit and fall. It doesn't mean you're this, yes, on average, yeah, but you can always be knocked out.
Yeah.
We've seen an underdog story. We've seen Leicester winning everything.
Yeah.
We've seen many history about all this. So I think that's the way to look at it. Yes, of course, we know about these teams in Europe, but we shouldn't always look at it that if you playing this guy, yeah, of course you gotta finish him.
You can even use the Real Madrid and Pachuca game as an example. Let's say that 2 minutes after Asensio gets that red card, so we're in the 11th minute. Pachuca sneak one in.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee that they won't be as composed and organized with those 10 players as they were when that just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity did not present itself. Certain guys didn't make the absolute most of what needed to possibly happen. But everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. It's like, you played more organized with 10 men. Congratulations. If they had snuck in a goal, you wouldn't have. And that's just the end of it. It's like,
that's true.
You can't linger on those what ifs or if this had done this. So it's like the reality was they won 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
But that Asensio red card could have gone very differently.
Yeah, that's true.
In an alternate universe, it does go differently, but it didn't in this one. There you go.
And the argument that the Europeans treat this as a friendlies, I don't want to hear it. You can say yes, but it's not a solid argument because if you're playing all your players too, in many ways, you're kind of taking it serious.
Yeah.
If you get beaten by one of this team, accept the defeat.
Yeah, well, and like we said earlier as well, it's like, it's a friendly until your side's in the semifinals with $125 million on the line, and then all of a sudden everyone's taking it fucking seriously.
Yeah. I can just see them trying to risk injuries by telling the players to not go all in. But the argument say, they just belittling the whole cup. I think it's also kind of lazy as an argument because of how well the other ones are performing. We just want to not give them their own credit. So
again, criticize the format, criticize the scope, the size, how much they've bloated it out to make more money from more matches. You can criticize all of that, but the idea of these continental clubs coming together to see who the best in the world is with $125 million in the line, that's as legitimate as it becomes. It's like, yes, you guys are tired, I understand that, but the tournament itself does matter. But the way they've expanded it to allow teams that didn't deserve to be in there to come in, I understand resentment toward that, and I understand that if you're upset about it and you just kind of want to wash your hands of it and say this whole thing's stupid, it's like I understand what you're saying, but you're mad at the format and the structure, not the actual tournament, not actually what it represents.
That is true. You can go on Spotify right now. If you type Top Corner Podcast,
get your ass on Spotify.
You're gonna listen to us. If you go on YouTube, the same thing. If you go on TikTok, the same thing.
Same thing.
Go consume the podcast. Go listen to it. Like, comment, subscribe, and do
like a pizza pie.
Do what you gotta do to get the podcast.
Like a pizza pie.
We will see you guys
mozzarella
next week. Bye.
Goodbye.